Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Real Talk with Fred Bergeron. I have a very special guest with me today. It is Sherrise Boyd, and Miss Boyd is a dedicated facilitator for the people. She actively involves herself in career choices and volunteer opportunities that support her local community. She played important roles regarding finance and budgets within government infrastructure and successfully completed a master's degree in emergency and disaster management. Her experience as a leader has been varied across many levels of leadership, and she has worked diligently with many departments, making Miss Boyd a unique and exceptionally well-rounded professional. You can sign up to volunteer on the campaign website at boydformayor.org, which is also scrolling across my screen. We are seeking help in the form of donations, also available on her site. For campaign updates and topics surrounding Daytona, please tune in to Sherry's Facebook Live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. So with no further ado, please help me welcome, should be on in just a second here, Sherrise Boyd. Good morning, Sherrise.
Good morning, Fred. Thank you for having me.
Well, good to see you, and I'm glad we could touch base to have you on my show. And just so you know, I interviewed Will Roberts yesterday, the candidate running for tax
Yes,
collector. Yeah.
yes,
So I think this is pretty cool that I get to interview two political candidates in the same week. So I think
yeah.
that's pretty cool. So let's start out with you, Sharice, as far as why did you decide to run for mayor?
Well, specifically, I decided to run for mayor to help people. I've always worked with community service for pretty much 20 years and done a lot in the community. And I just felt like Daytona was a place that needed a strong leadership. I saw where we were lacking and better things could be done. And I decided to take on that challenge and the role to be a servant and a community provider and sponsor for my people.
Okay, well that's great. And tell us about some of your accomplishments, Sharice.
Wow, let's see. Work related. Let's see. I was selected for the diversity and inclusion representative for my division at my place of employment, which I just left a couple of weeks ago, which was Volusia County EMS for 4 years. I was the diversity and inclusion representative. I sit on the board at the YMCA for about 3 years. I'm an ambassador for United Way. I've been doing that for about 3 years as well. Prior to coming here, I did work with the U.S. Court of Appeals for a couple of years. I successfully completed a term. I was awarded for outstanding performance by the Budget Committee for my work in the budget specifically, which is pretty big accomplishment to get. I've been awarded by my former employer, Prince William County Fire and Rescue. I received two of the three highest awards myself and a team of people I put together and orchestrated um, a what do I want to say, a project where we were able to reduce the risk, mitigate, and help save lives of citizens and law enforcement and first responders. So I've done a lot. Those are just a few, of course.
Yeah, sounds like you're a busy woman, which is a good thing. Busy is always good. And um, what do you expect from us as a community? What's your vision for Daytona Beach?
Right now, well, not now, but my vision in general is to bring us to be more progressive. I think we're very outdated. I don't think our tourism is at all where it could be or should be. I think for too long we've had leaders that were not open to diverse kind of events and just different things to do, and they try to keep it status quo, what they were comfortable with. And my vision is to take us into not just tomorrow, but 2, 3 years forward. My vision is to do something different from any other leader thus far as I know of. I tell people when you vote for me, it's not where it ends. I'm putting an onus on the citizens that if you vote for me and you support me, I'm going to come to you and ask for your help when it's time to have these projects that you said you wanted to be a part of or agree on. And that's my vision, is to get the community way more involved. I do believe specifically why the current situation is because too many community people are not involved. So my vision is to change the morale here, to inspire people to bring us up to another level of um, exceptional of what we expect and excellence for leaders, and to work together and brand us and just make us the community that welcomes all. I think too often we have not been allowed to welcome all, and we're going to change that. We're going to be, and I tell people, we're going to be the community that welcomes all, and that means even the criminals, because we got plenty of space in the jail. But we're not gonna tell people you can't come here because we don't like something in regards to that. Of course, there'll be lawful things, but in regard anything outside of that, I just think we as a community need to unite. No, I feel it. I don't think it. I know it. I feel it. We need to unite, and we need better leadership to brand us to bring us that market that we're looking for.
Well, that sounds like an excellent vision. Earlier, you mentioned United Way, and I've met some people at United Way. They do a lot of things for nonprofit, and I used to be homeless, and I'm a homeless advocate. So that's one thing that they help with. And just briefly, what's your take on our homeless situation?
Ooh, so I have a soft spot in my heart as well for homeless people, because I just have a soft spot. I'm one of those people who have a conscience. So I was homeless as a child several times. I grew up very poor. There's no secret, and I don't try to hide that. And even as a young adult, I've been homeless. Up until a situation that took place about a dozen years ago, I was homeless for about 28 days because something happened that was unprecedented and it had nothing to do with me. So my take on the homeless situation is one, I don't like the way I feel people look at homeless people here in the leadership role. And certain people, I guess, because they're wealthy, think that, not all, but they believe that homeless people, I guess, are less than people. When we know in actuality, majority of people are homeless are not homeless by choice. There are not too many people who says, I want to be homeless. And another thing is a lot of people don't realize how many of us are very close to being homeless, very close
Right.
to being homeless. So with our homeless situation, I think that we have unfortunately given it a bad stigmatism of you're homeless because they assume all panhandlers are homeless and all homeless people panhandle. That is not the case. Each time I was homeless, I never panhandled a day in my life. But some people have to because that's what they need. But the majority of people who are homeless don't actually panhandle. They stay with a family, they stay with a friend, they struggle, and so I was happy that the ordinance was passed in regards to the panhandling because I understood it as a citizen why they did that. I do not like how they thought panhandling, passing that ordinance was going to fix the problem. I do think our leadership has disconnected from reality of what our city is. We do have a lot of homeless people here, and it's going to increase post COVID because of what's going on. Obviously, the nation is going to increase. So we had a shelter built here that the mayor, the incumbent, I don't usually say his name, is taking much pride in having to do with building that and instrumental, of it being erected, whatever he feels. But the reality is, the gesture was too little, too late, and it doesn't suffice the problem. If we have over 100,000 people that are homeless, and well, not even in the county, for example, people in other places want to use it. They can't get to it. It's isolated. In the city alone, we have hundreds of people that are homeless, so we can't get hundreds of people into a facility that maximizes out at 40 something. It is located in an area which a lot of cities are doing now, and I please tell people, research the Florida League of Cities, and you will see what cities are planning to do. I don't like the way it's located next to the jail. It is intimidating. It is far away. There's no transportation back and forth. The bus doesn't run after a certain time. They don't have money to take a bus down there. There's just a whole lot of things. And I feel like the leadership thought, oh, we're going to put this way over here away from society, away from all the things that are happening. Homeless people do not deserve to be isolated. They're no different than us. They are just in a different situation. So I don't like the way that was handled at all. I think it was. I know it was intentional. I know it was methodical, and I know what their purpose was because, like I said, other cities and places are doing something very similar. So I think all should be ashamed. I do believe if we had more affordable and low income housing available and programs, then we wouldn't need as many shelters.
Well, and I agree with that. And I was part of the faith organization that helped get that homeless shelter going. I don't think the location at the time mattered to us as long as there was one that provided facilities for the homeless, some type of medical things like that. That's one of the things we were advocating for. And I mean, I agree with you. I think where it's at, it's in a like a bad location or a weird location. It's out like across from the jail, and I think if homeless people go there, they might feel like they're in prison almost. I think just because of the atmosphere. So and I did a speech at Elevate Daytona a couple of years ago that you probably need to watch. It's on YouTube. It's called My Story, and it
Okay.
talks exactly about what you just said about giving people a different perspective of being homeless. Because I've been that person. I've got 2 college degrees. I was in the military, and I was letting people know homelessness can happen to anybody. And like you said, it's not 9 times out of 10. It's not by choice. With me, it was by circumstance. I had a good paying job. I got fired from it, and I ended up getting a job making a lot less money. So it was hard for me to keep up with my house payments, my car payments. I lost my house. I lost my home, both within 2 years of being paid off. So, I
Right.
was, I was that, that different homeless person, and the panhandling thing. I'm glad they came out with that. I'm doing another presentation, Sherrise, at Stetson. I did one last year, and one of the things I bring up is the panhandling. And I got to be good friends with someone called Autumn Hope Johnson. She was featured on 60 Minutes and CBS This Morning, and she was homeless right around the corner in Sanford, living out of her dad's work truck. And I interviewed her about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and great story to tell. And one of the things she told me when we parted ways was, let's change the world together. So, and her and I both know we can't do it by ourselves. It takes the community, it takes people such as yourselves to be the driving force in things like this. And I'm very passionate about helping homeless because, like you, I was homeless as well. So I just want to kind of opens people's eyes and enlighten them. That you say, hey, I've been there. Sherrise has been there. Autumn's been there. What can we do to help you? What can we do to steer you in the right direction? So I'm big on homelessness. So maybe we can get together some other time and maybe try to spearhead something there. And I'll introduce you to Autumn as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we can maybe get something going there. So my next question for you, Sherrise, is should you get elected, what are your plans for Daytona Beach?
Ooh, I have a lot of plans. Hold on. So let's see. One, I want to start an urban garden. The urban garden, I'm going to bring up first because we're talking about homelessness and things. And we have a very poor community. The average income is about $28,000 in the city of Daytona for the working class. That does not mean the people who are retired and came down here with money in their pocket. I'm talking about the indigenous, born here, bred here, working in the city, especially Midtown. So resources are scarce as they are. I want to start the urban garden. The urban garden would be, instead of all these vacant lots that we have that we're paying somebody to maintain or even not maintain because they're overgrown and looking pretty crazy and they're a haven for bad things, what I would like to do is turn those into gardens where we could feed the homeless and we can also feed the children in the communities, because as you know, during the school year, children may get a breakfast and a lunch, but they don't get a dinner. There's nothing on weekends. So if we can provide that, I would like to do that. The garden would also be, to let you know, I want to start what we call a no child left behind, no latchkey child program. So those children whose parents work 2 jobs, because many of them do, to make the ends meet, and they're still very poor. When they get off school or afterwards, they usually are going home or they're just playing, and there's no structure for them until their parent gets home. So my goal is to work and get some volunteers, which I've spoken to plenty of people. The Sigmas and the Zetas, I just want to say, they have offered to help and do a lot of mentoring in the community, and they've already done that. And I would like for them, and other agencies have too, but just specifically, I know people there that I'm going to be working with. And we're going to do after school programs for them where the parents basically will pay what they can. If they can't, then they can't. And we understand that. But when they get off school, they'll be picked up. They'll be at one of the few churches that I'm working with. They will get their homework done. They will receive a meal. If they're struggling in an area, they will get services offered if available. That way, when the parents get off from working 2 jobs, they can come get their child. They'll go home. They've eaten because we have the garden. They've gotten tutored because we have volunteers that are doing it. They're in a safe place because we're going to make sure of that. And then we're going to let them go home. And guess what? When mom or dad gets off, and sadly, usually mom, who's a single parent with the children, we're talking about in Daytona specifically, they're going to go home, and instead of having to worry about feeding your children and everything, literally all you have to do is let your child go take a shower or bath. You can unwind, and y'all can have some quality time together. That's important because a lot of parents are trying to wear 10 hats, and we have to help. That's the community part to this. When I said, we need to be together. Also, I want to do oh man, there's so many programs. I want to start a beautification program. That's where we'll go get grant money from different not cities, from different organizations, so that we can beautify the area, the Midtown area, all the way up to Beachside, Main Street, and throughout. It's important that we do that. We want to be a city that's attractive. And I don't mean just put put lipstick on a pig. We've got a lot more work to do. But those are the simpler things where we can get donations and money for. Let's see. Something really big that we need to do when I'm elected is I want to work on the agenda to get the ordinance change, the charter change for the way that committees are allowed to be. I do not believe we should have nepotism on any committee because it always will give someone, or it could potentially, it will usually give someone an advantage when it comes to a vote. So if we have 5 people that need to make a vote and 2 people are friends, then usually they'll only have to secure that one more vote. The mayor doesn't make a vote unless it's a decision making for a tiebreaker, obviously. So that's something I want to stop. I don't want people to feel that they are indebted to someone because they are related. I want people, because what that does to our citizens, it breaks down the trust. It doesn't allow a fairness when items are presented. Now, if people are related and they earnestly agree, that's one thing. But for the most part, a lot of the decisions are being made because there is nepotism throughout. I want to also work with the commissioners. I do not think the commissioners are active enough in their community at all. There are people who don't even know who our mayor is, and he's been a mayor for 8 years, and before that he was a commissioner for 4. And it's really disturbing that for 12 years this man has been an elected official, and there are so many people who don't know who he is. So that's what we're not going to have with me. I'm going to be very involved. I've been working with nonprofit owners, nonprofit organization owners. I've been working with business owners, people, educators, all sorts of people, a marketing company, and we are working on bringing ourselves to the community. We're going to develop different programs that we are going to take to the community. And like I said, when we started, I knock on people's doors. You wanted this after school program. Why is your son not coming? I heard you need help with that. Because if we don't, no one is going to. I have learned that because of the distrust and the breakdown in the system between leadership and the city residents and business owners here, that is so sorely lacking. And the selected mayor has to, one, be able to have this rapport with people and not establish it when they get in office. I've already got it. It's been going. I talk to everybody. I blow my horn when I drive through neighborhoods. People know me. And the people who don't know me, it's just because I haven't gotten to them. But you have to realize I just started running for office in March, and more people seem to know me than the mayor who's been in office 12 years. That said, I want to instill that program, community, working together and getting out here. And then there's low income housing and affordable tax credit. I want to start those programs. I want to work with developers instead of asking for the extremely rich to donate and take from us, and we are just losing our city to developers. I want developers that understand, listen, we're going to give you some land. God's not giving us more. So we need to make sure before we give you this, that our interest is best. You're going to make money because you're a company, and that's capitalism. I'm fine with that. But you cannot make money off of our back and we suffer. So we prosper together, that's fine. So when they build these apartments and homes and townhouses that should have been built, we're going to ask that they do 20% for affordable, for low income, and we're going to leave 15% for affordable. And I have a whole dynamics of how that will work because there's a difference. And I want to be clear because people always seem to think when you're for affordable housing or, helping society or communities, that you're this person who is a handout person. I am not. I've been homeless, and I'm here to tell you there were no handouts. I had to do what I had to do. because one, that's just me. I'm determined. I know that this is a temporary situation. It'll get better. But when we put people in these affordable housings, from my experience as a property manager working in low income tax credit properties, I know there's people who abuse the system. I'm not stupid. We're not going to have that here. The difference with us when we do these programs for low income tax credit or affordable housing on the scales, we're going to have two sets. We're going to have the people who, like, you're just destitutely not going to be able to work. You're on a fixed income. You're permanently disabled. Then you stay in the low income housing, and there aren't too many stipulations beyond following your lease. However, if you're just in a situation and there's potential for you to improve, our job as leaders is to provide you at least access to the resources or let you know what those resources are. And what we're going to do is when you go into affordable housing, we're going to change the demographic, the requirements. So if you come in, you can stay 2 to 4 years. And the reason I say that is in case somebody needs to go back to school. First year, you understand if you were homeless, that first year, it took you over a year to get back to stable because you've already lost everything. You're behind in your bills. So we're going to give you a year to catch up. But in that year, there's things like, for example, can't go getting arrested. You can't have any drug charges. If you're in school, your grades need to be at least a 2.0 or 2.4 GPA. If your children in school, their grades need to be doing well as well. And we're going to check on that because that's the community part. It's not to punish a parent. But the thing is, if we notice the grades are slipping, then we're setting him or her up for failure if we don't address it with you. Because remember, we have tutors that are willing to help you if you bring him or her to the program. So my idea of affordable and low-income housing is a whole picture it encompasses. It doesn't just say, come build houses we can afford. No, you're going to go in here and you're going to move in after a year of being in the low income. You should be able to transition over to affordable because we're going to get you there. We're going to help you get a job. We're going to send you out on interviews. We're going to let you know what there are. Now, can we make every situation work like that? No. But I promise you there's not one person on this panel that has this plan because either one candidate wants to say, oh, I built a shelter and did nothing else. You know, if you give me a piece of bread today, thank you. But if you take me out here and you tell me how to grow wheat and plant wheat and grow it, I'm going to eat every day. So don't just put me in a shelter so I have something over my head now. But what am I when I leave here? And another thing with that shelter, I want to go back to it real quick. Where's the nearest supermarket?
Right.
You know, I'm a female, and if I need female products, you want me to go to that Chevron that's going to cost 8 times more than what it probably would cost in the store? There's no supermarket. There's no stores. If they have food stamps, which most likely they probably are eligible for, that means they can't buy cooked food, even though the shelter provides food. The shelter is not going to give you food 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Maybe someone has something they want. Maybe it's their special whatever. Maybe they drink Ensure as part of their program to keep up their weight. That stuff is not located at that Chevron. So how are they going to get to the nearest supermarket? Think, where's the nearest supermarket now?
Right. That's true. That's true. You know, and
Target.
and one of my visions before they did this homeless shelter was, because I want to piggyback off a lot of what you said, Sherrise, was, you know, my one of my visions was not just to have a place for homeless people to go to and be sheltered, but provide an exit strategy for them. You know, is like you said, have like some type of mini grocery store or something available. Have medical staff on hand or something, since these people can't afford that. And one of my biggest things was teach these people how to get a job, like teach them how to use Google,
Yes.
teach them how to get on a computer. I was willing to go out there and do some free seminars on, you know, dressing first, like says, how to dress for an interview, and me being a public speaker, being in Toastmasters, I can kind of help them with their speaking skills. So I think it's just more than just putting a roof over your head, like you said. It just my vision is let's have an exit strategy. Let's, you know, homeless should be a temporary thing, not permanent. So let's try to come up with an exit strategy to, you know, a transitioning type plan is, I guess, what
Yes.
I'm looking for. That's my vision there too. You also mentioned a nonprofit. I have a friend named Chrissy Markov. She has a nonprofit organization called Our Children First, and
Mm-hmm.
I met her through the Daytona Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I'll introduce you to her too. She's got an excellent thing in place, and I'm trying to do a podcast as a nonprofit as well, where people just tell their story. So maybe we can kind of have a meeting of the minds there as well. And something else you said too, that I can relate to. I have the same theory with homeless people. Is if someone comes up to me and they say that they're hungry, I'm not going to give them. I'm not going to give them money. Now, bless my mom's heart. She passed away 11 months ago. She would always give in and give them money, or I would take a different approach because I've been homeless, and I've actually helped two people do this, Sherrise, and it actually worked out. I Whatever place I was there, if it was a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven, I'd take them in with me. I said, okay, you order what you want, I'll pay for it, and then I would make sure they would
Right.
sit down and eat food, because to me, if they're legitimately hungry, they're gonna they're gonna eat
Devour.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt I could help them without being taken advantage of. So that's kind of, like you said, a lot of homeless people are put in a bad light for those people that, like you said, try to buck the system, so to say. So I mean, I'm with you on that. Now, what challenges do you foresee now, and should you be elected as mayor? What challenges do you foresee, especially with this pandemic upon us? What challenges do you see, and do you foresee any type of change or anything like that to adapt to these challenges?
So before I answer that, one, you said you were a vet. Thank you for your service. I would like to speak to you offline about something I'm getting ready to start a community forum or a group that I want to put together of people who've served. So we'll talk about that next. Second, in regards to my greatest challenge, which you would think is the pandemic, it's so sad. My greatest challenge is going to be breaking down the ingrained conspiracies and um, the favoritism and things like that have been taking place in leadership in Daytona. That's actually going to be my greatest challenge. Everything else, believe it or not, comes very simple to me. It's my personality. It's who I am. I'm genuine. I'm sincere. So business, my credentials will speak for itself. I can run any organization and I will make any dysfunctional more functional and efficient. However, what I'm dealing with, my greatest problem is going to be the mindset of the people in current leadership. So how am I going to fix that? I'm going to, like I told you, I'm going to be out there. There's a lot of people I've been speaking to, and there are several, actually two people specifically, that I'm going to push for to run next election for seats on the commission, because I feel that there are people that need to go. So that's going to be my greatest challenge. The pandemic, and it sounds crazy, but I studied emergency disaster management. This is the simple part. We have to follow, obviously, safety protocols. We need to use common sense. Financially, we need to stop spending. This develop. We can't do that. The developers are coming in and they're doing things, but we need to slow down developing. I'm not saying stop, because obviously we want to be ready when that growth comes, but that growth isn't there. So my greatest challenge, honestly, is breaking the mindsets of the people who have been leaders, who they have that it's always been done this way mentality, or who moved my cheese. They're not going to go above and beyond if you don't make them. Yeah. So that's my greatest challenge. My second greatest challenge is getting the community united. Right now, the country is dealing with a lot of social issues, and even candidates that I'm going up against, my opponents, they're using it to their advantage in political ploys, which I think is disgusting. That's got to be addressed. Police reform. The next biggest challenge is finding the city manager. Jim Chisholm, I believe, this is my opinion, and my opinion is my opinion. I believe he's very racist. He is not even a closet racist. He is just blatantly racist, and he's very closed-minded. I do believe that he's been there too long. I don't think he should have made it past the interview. And next to that, the challenge is getting rid of him and finding someone to take over that role that we can use to hopefully rebuild the trust that has been broken. It's so sad in this race. I'm dealing with people who don't want to, even though it's a nonpartisan race. People don't want to vote for a Democrat because of what's going on in the White House. That has nothing to do here. It has nothing to do what's going on here. Or I get the racist comments, I'm not voting for another Black person because of what this current mayor did. When people say stuff like that, although they think it's justified, it actually makes them look bad, because you're going to allow someone else's behavior to determine what you could be losing out on, a blessing or something, whether it's me or someone else. So those are my challenges, honestly. The job itself is not a challenge. I actually took this on I think campaigning is harder than the job will be.
Right, right. And speaking of opponents, what separates you uh, between you and your opponents?
Well, outside of gender, yeah, that credentials expeditiously, I outrank them in so many ways. I have over 10 years in government. I have multitude of degrees and certifications. I've been a rescue specialist. I've handled finance in government. I've handled budget. I've worked in community services for over 20 years, combined here and there, different agencies. I have a rapport with the communities. I walk up to neighbors and doors. I wave at people. I blow my horn through the neighborhood. I am very connected to the community. There's not an area I'm going to go where I'm going to have to worry about being stoned. Whereas I can't say the same for the incumbent. um, and then I care. I mean, and I care. Like, I have two opponents. One has been an elected official for 12 years. And I'm a woman that believes God tells you, your labor will be reviewed with your fruits of your labor. And I asked, what have you done in 12 years as an elected official? Don't just look at this 4 years. We're talking about 12 years. There are people who don't know who the mayor is. I've been here 4 years. People know who I am. So that tells you, like I said, who he is. He he tries to take credit for things that he hasn't done, whereas I can tell you what I've done in 4 years that I've been here helping with the homeless. I go to church, but sometimes I will take my tithes and buy food and feed the homeless over behind Jay's store at the food pantry, because they run out of food a lot, so they'll let me come in the parking lot and feed people from there. um, and the other candidate, to be honest, his platform is that I've been going to city council meetings for 30 years, and that's it. But he hasn't really been going for 30 consecutive years. Over 30 years he has gone, but that's it. So it's almost like he wants to run because he's a secretary. But I have a degree in emergency disaster management. I have a master's certification in nonprofit management. I'm getting ready to finish my Six Sigma Green Belt. I have a degree in business administration. I've worked in government and done the exact thing. This job, the manager's job, is administrative, operations, personnel, finance, everything that I did overseas. I've done that for just about 10 years straight through government, as my role. And I'm also equipped to deal with the pandemic, hurricanes, and all of that. So when people say what sets me apart, or I get a lot, well, what have you done to prepare for this role? I prepared for this role 10 years ago when I went back to school. I always ask then, what is it that the other candidates actually have that I don't? And usually there's a void in that spot and they get upset. But the reality is, if this was a job and I submitted a resume, we took each candidate's resume and submitted it, and you never knew who they were. You didn't put a name on it, no gender, nobody knew. I'm positive that it would be my resume that would come to the top of the pile and I'd be the selected candidate.
Okay. And other than the website, what can we as a community do to support you, Sherrise?
Okay, so on my website, you can volunteer, you can sign up. And unlike other candidates, I tell people, if you have a problem, call me, text me, email me, let me know about it. Not saying I can fix it, but I need to know it exists, because people come up to me so many things, and because they don't know who I know, I'm calling people and I'm fixing, and they're like, wow, I didn't know. Wow, I didn't know. So I'm very resourceful. I'm fiduciary responsible, somewhat cheap. I'm a Dave Ramsey fan, so I'm a minimalist.
I love you, because I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. I follow Financial Peace.
Yes. Once you've been homeless, man, I tell people, you will realize how much you don't really need. And you will, if you've been to other countries and seen this stuff, especially if you've been deployed, you understand, like, we live really grandiose here, grandiose. We have everything we don't need in America. But I appreciate it, especially the freedoms. But how people can help, you can go online and volunteer. Of course, I have raised the least amount of money because I have not asked for money that much, because I've told people I'd rather have your vote than your dollar. The dollar does keep me in the race, but the vote's going to get me in the office. So please share anything on social media that I have. You just look up Sherrise Boyd and you just find anything, social media. Tell a friend, email a friend, ask a friend. I'm accessible. And then if you want to make a donation, if you're able, because I know what the pandemic has done, Cash App. It would be $ Boyd for Mayor spelled out, or you can go to PayPal and it's Boyd for Mayor. Otherwise, just lots of prayers, volunteers, and that's it. I'm pretty simple with it. I'm not trying to go above and beyond and, spend a whole bunch of money on stuff I don't think is necessary when you've been sent to do something and you're a good person. I think God takes care of the rest.
Right. And any other ways to get hold of you, or are those just the primary ways to get hold of you, Sherrise?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll be honest, don't send me a message on the social media. It's best to text my cell phone, which is 386-753-7788. And my email is mayor@boyd4mayor.org, spelt out, no numbers. Those are the two best ways to get in touch with me. I do have a wonderful team of volunteers that have been helping me. I'm pretty sure I'm driving them crazy because I have a lot of last minute stuff, but they're really good and receptive.
Yeah, they helped me put this together too. So, I really appreciate that too. Before we wrap up, Sherrise, any final words, any words of wisdom, shout outs out there you'd like to give to our general public out there?
Yes. Well, one, I want to give a shout out to noREgreb Industries because you are awesome and I appreciate everything that you are doing. I do. I went through and I looked at everything when you invited me. I'm very pleased with that. I did know your story a little bit before I spoke with you, just in all fairness. And I want to give a shout out to all of my volunteers. I do forget people's names, but listen, I got some of the best volunteers you could imagine. I got people who served in the military, active, not active. I have doctors that stop me on the road. Hey, we got you. Give us some signs. I mean, I want to give a shout out to everybody in Daytona that has welcomed me, supported me, and understands this vision and wants better. And of course, first and foremost, before me, you, and anyone else, I give all praise and thanks to the Father above. But that's it. Like I said, I'm pretty much just what you see is what you get. I will work every day. I will make this a full-time job. And I know we deserve better, Daytona, and together we can get better.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sherrise. I will talk to you in a couple of minutes. And nice chatting with you. And good luck on your campaign.
All right. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day, and I do appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.